Bokashi. Rotting plants. Hey, so today I'm going to attempt to explain the Bokashi indoor composter without any idea of what's actually going on. So first of all, the Bokashi indoor composting system is your alternative to traditional composting. Traditional composting requires you to save up your food bits and then put them into a sealed bucket. You have to kind of like occasionally spin that compost bin. It breaks down the food and it takes quite a bit of time. When your soil has access to composted materials, it ups the nutrient game, invites good bacteria, fungi, broken down fish, seaweed, algae, whatever it is you're eating to help serve the soil and enrich your plants. This results in greener plants, bigger plants, better plants. A long time ago, I actually did try to compost my own food. I would chop up anything that I wasn't using and put it into a bag. Not too much happened before I took the food out, and then I just shoved this half fermented old food into the soil. And what that could do is absolutely provide some mulch, meaning that it keeps water underneath the soil that it's sitting on top of. It can break down a little bit and provide some phosphorus, nitrogen, or other compounds, but not a lot. And so this was a really ineffective way of nourishing my soil. On the flip side though, this was really harmful. It invited bugs into the apartment. Bugs were swarming around the soil all the time and eating at the food bits and then eventually eating at the plant. So then my calathea plant actually died, and that's just story of my life. So this time around, I decided to go with an indoor composting system specifically designed to be airtight as well as fast acting, because I know that I go through a lot of refuse in my cooking, from stems to, just like the ends of vegetables that you don't eat. It takes so long for those things to break down naturally, and I don't have the space for a big outdoor composting system that I'm like cycling every day. I found this bucket from another YouTube channel, and so I purchased one. I think it's about $50. Obviously this lid can be removed for you to add your composting materials, and then at the bottom there's a spigot for the excess liquid from your composting material, what they euphemistically call tea. The proportion of compost tea to water is something like 1 to 50. Meaning that just a little bit of tea in your big watering can will go a really long way to nourishing all the plants that you water with it. What I will say is that it takes very long for tea to generate from your compost. The smaller you chop them up, the faster the process will go. So right now I have my compost filled. It's like kind of heavy, so I think it's filled up to here. It's about halfway, but still no tea after like 3 weeks. And so I'm gonna be waiting for at least another month to be able to turn the spigot and get a decent amount of tea in order to add to my watering can. What's great about the Bokashi indoor composter is that they sell Bokashi flakes. These are little dried fish guts, mushroom, fungi, seaweed, algae, and other nutrient-dense material that is basically assisting in the decomposition of your food. And so this stuff has a really weird smell. After you put in your daily or weekly compost material in here, you gotta sprinkle like a heaping spoonful or two of this Bokashi mix. There's no such thing as too much Bokashi mix, so that's a great thing. I just have like more of an intuition about composting now, and that's what makes this system so simple, is that you could just put food in and then sprinkle Bokashi mix on top, mix that compost material around, and then see what happens in like a week. If you feel it hasn't broken down enough, then you know you just need to add more Bokashi mix in the future. I'm really generous with the Bokashi mix, and it's worked out very well for me. As you fill up this bad boy and you are composting, there's gonna be a white fungus that forms on top of your food, within your food, and so on, as well as a very putrid, unappealing, different smell. Be careful when you open the lid. You wanna be prepared for the smell. I actually like to take this bin all the way out to the patio, open it out there, fill it up, mix it up, and do my business out in the open air, and then bring it back inside and store it underneath the sink. Word of caution, you know, this is a smelly enterprise and this is kind of gritty work. So nothing sexy about it, but I do so appreciate that composting my food allows for my plants to have a better life, and it gives a second life to all of the waste that I'm generating. I'm all about recycling and upcycling and just being more conscious of the earth these days. Being raised in the 90s, I just have so much to repent for in terms of consumerism and unhealthy living. And so if you are somebody that cooks a lot at home, which you might be because of the times, and you do generate maybe lots of food scraps, try to measure out how much you are wasting every single day and consider if composting makes a lot of sense, especially if you have little plants or an outdoor garden. Whew. So very glad that's over with. That's basically how one bokashi session looks like. It's a super smelly ordeal. As you can see, you can throw in almost anything you like into the bokashi composting system. For example, I have these roses, right, from Valentine's Day, and as soon as they are past their prime or wilting, what I'm gonna do is chop them up into little tiny pieces and put them into the bokashi composting system. So the romance can live year round. Also, if you're short on time or you just don't wanna get down and gritty every single day, you can save your compost. After all, these are vegetables that were presumably in your refrigerator before you chop them up. You can save those vegetable cuttings in a bag or a box or something in your refrigerator and then just handle the bokashi session once a week or so. If you watched episode 2, you'll know that I have used one batch of compost material in my outdoor garden bed. I think it's been very helpful for the plants out on the bed. The ones that remained in little pots and jars are doing well, but the ones in the bed are absolutely flourishing. On top of that, we've had a lot of different species of mushrooms pop up, and although they are really weird to see at first,
and some of them are slimy and kind of gross,
it's a really great sign that the soil is very much alive and very much decomposing and having that aerobic process. It's really good to know that my garden bed, however small it is, you know, being in the middle of an urban environment, can still thrive. And I want to thank the bokashi system for that. A little bit about my situation. We're moving in the coming weeks, and so I'm just gonna keep filling up this compost bin, having it decompose and compost, creating that oh so delicious tea, and then hopefully use it for my second plant bed. What I'm gonna do is ew, I can smell it. I can just dump out all of this compost and make the soil super duper super soil. What doesn't come with the bokashi composting system is I want to speak a little bit about the power of a cup of baking soda. Baking soda has the ability to absorb odors in the air and leave your air neutralized. It obviously doesn't have a smell, but it neutralizes the smell, which goes a long way when you have basically trash in the form of compost. This goes underneath the sink. I chose that location because it is dark and typically cool, and that's what the bokashi system needs. It does not want air, it does not want heat. This little cup of baking soda can at least absorb some of the odor. I have the same type of cup in our refrigerator in the vegetables drawer, and this really helps soak up humidity as well. I just wanted to put a little plug for baking soda if you weren't already aware of its abilities. And I noticed that it does kind of go stale. So just give it a quick mix and you can use this for just days on end. Like, I think I swap out something like this once a year. All you have to do is just keep stirring it. I love that the bokashi composting system has allowed me as a tiny urban gardener to take my gardening to the next level. Although this video isn't sponsored by the bokashi system or anything, I wanted to make something specific about composting because it can be foreign and it can be underutilized, especially for beginners and young people experimenting in their apartments. I could only dream that bokashi would sponsor a YouTube video. I am willing to sell my soul for some free fish guts. So if you are a tiny gardener, I hope this video doesn't pressure you to have to compost or to buy a composting system, but consider it and consider what you can do with the waste that you generate when you eat. You know, I actually shower and put on makeup to make these YouTube videos, and then I go and get all like stinky. Thanks for watching. Happy gardening. Keep it small, keep it simple, but full of abundance. See you next time. Bokashi composting. rotting plants.